Nobody really respects the underdog until they need them. And the reason why I say this, y'all, is because just last week, somebody had the nerve to ask me the question, did you really have to go to school to do what you do? You had to go to college to be a social worker? And that kind of took me back because I was like, why would they ask me a question like that? Are they trying to minimize what I do as a professional? Because obviously they feel like it don't take a lot of skill to be a social worker. And it made me look at society because people are so caught up in titles and positions. They don't care for you unless you are a doctor or you have CEO behind your name. Why is it like that in the world? And I went on to explain to them, yes, I did have to go to school to be a social worker. And also I had to sit for the state boards and get a license because the job that I have to bill for Medicaid, and I have to be a licensed social worker to do that. And we have a board that we sit under. And I also have to have continuing education credits to maintain my degree. They was like, dang, all of that just to be a social worker? Yes, social workers have to do that. And it's just like with nurses, they have to have a license as well. But this person was really surprised. And you know what? People don't respect what you do as a professional until they need you. I'm going to tell y'all a story about my husband. He was working his professional job and he got laid off. And it was during the time of 2008. That was a real hard time for a lot of people, y'all. I talk about that a lot because 2008 people was losing their homes and everything. And my husband lost his job. We got a new home and he had to find a job immediately because we still had bills. So he took this job at Dish Network. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Dish Network, but they install cable. And so he had to put on a uniform. He had to put on the boots, the hard hat. And they gave him a van to drive home because he had all his cable gear in there. He really liked the job, but that job didn't pay that much money. Back then, that was over 15 years ago, and it was paying like $600 and something every 2 weeks. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to survive off of that little baby check? Even though I was still working, thank God. But one day, he had to go install cable in one of our neighbors' home. Now, the neighbors didn't know who we were, but he said he went into the home. It was a lady there. And he said that lady was watching him like a hawk, just looking at him like he was suspect. Didn't want him to touch anything and was just real uncomfortable with his presence there. He said he went on and finished the job. He said they got to talking, and I don't know what made him say this, but he said something to the fact that she said, I know you're not really familiar with this area, but when you go out, you may want to take a left. And he said, well, actually, I am familiar with this area because I live at that house on top of the hill. And you should have saw that lady jaw drop. She was so surprised. She was like, you live over here? And my husband was like, yes, I've been over here now for 2 years. And she changed her whole tone. You know what? You can never make assumptions about people. You don't know if he could have just been working his job part-time, because I know a lot of people who work part-time jobs and they run a full business making 6 figures a year, but they just work a part-time job or a side hustle just so they can get out the house and have some socialization. I know people like that, but I'm the type of person, I don't judge people by their title, but it's some people out there that do that. And she was shocked, y'all. And then one day in the neighborhood, y'all, my neighbors, they were having a Super Bowl party. And they had all the cars, up and down the neighborhood, and everybody was there. And of course, we weren't invited. But I got a knock on the door, and it was the neighbor. And I was like, can I help you? He was like, is your husband home? Is he here today? Y'all already know. And I said, he's downstairs. I'll go get him. So Of course, I'm listening to the conversation. And they were like, man, our cable on went out and we got all these people here. And it's the Super Bowl. We got all this food and stuff. And it's so embarrassing. Can you come to my house and help us? And my husband, he's a real cool dude. He don't hold grudges or nothing. And he went down to their house, y'all. In less than 15 minutes, he was coming back. I was like, dang, that's quick. You went on and fixed their cable? He was like, yeah. Y'all would have thought my husband was Superman because them people were so grateful that he was able to fix their cable. But nobody respected the underdog until they needed them. I will never forget this because these people, they never spoke to us. They never throwed their hand up when we were coming in the neighborhood. And I'm not saying that they were racist or anything because we just live in a time where everybody just kind of keep to themselves, and neighbors are not the same like it was when I was growing up. We were more of a community. But baby, they were speaking to us every time they saw us. But that just goes to show you how important your title can change when somebody needs you. And as a social worker, people don't respect my title a whole lot because they know that social workers don't make enough money and they help people with food stamps and they deal with child neglect, the things that people don't really want to do. And they just don't respect you until they have adult children that don't do right in life, that get on drugs, that get in bad relationships. And then they calling you on the phone. What steps can I take to get custody of my grandchildren? How do I go about doing that? Then they want to call you. Or this person's in a bad position. What resources are out there? Then they want to call me. I'm a superhero then. So that's what I mean. Nobody respects the underdog until they need them. Now you a big deal all of a sudden. And let me tell y'all something. I have been going to the most unsafe environments as a woman, as a female, being chased by aggressive dogs, being hit on by strange, unattractive men. Just in unsafe environments. I work hard. I try to help people as much as I can. But people don't respect what you do. And that's a problem in society. And let me say this. I went to school because I wanted to help people that were indigent. And the reason was because I grew up poor. And I remember the looks that people used to give me. They knew I was poor. We used to go to this big church and it was a lot of middle class people. And I can remember how they used to look at us, the feeling I felt. And I said to myself, I want to help people that's poor. I already knew inside of me because I come from a good family and I'm a good person. And I thought to myself, I want to help good people that's having a hard time in their life. So that's what I did. I became a social worker. It's not a respected position, but I've helped a lot of people. And I'm going to say this. I used to work with addicts, people that were on drugs. And let me tell you, I've had to work with doctors and lawyers. And when you get on drugs and you go to that support group, there's no hierarchy. There's no title. You introduce yourself and you say, hi, my name is Tom and I'm an addict. Everybody's the same. There's no title when you need help. But that's the way of the world, y'all. People don't respect you unless you got a title or you have this big influence. It's a beautiful day today, y'all. I was going to talk to you all outside, but it was so many children running around this park. And I didn't want you all to be distracted, but you all let me know. Have you all been disrespected by people by the title that you hold? I feel good about going to college and doing what I do. Now, do I wish that we got paid more? Yes. but my job is a ministry. But that's all I have, you guys. And I look forward to talking to you all in the comments.